So, I haven't seen you in so long. And I remember the way you and I met was, of course, through human services work that you've continued doing and doing amazingly. My question is, how has your work in human services shaped you as an artist?
Definitely had helped me liberate a lot in terms of, how I see an artistic form. I went. I had a more structured idea of what an artistic form was, and I think I started doing storytelling, which isn't an artistic form that is not as highlighted usually, because I was hearing stories from so many people. Many times that you and me sat down and we had these long conversations, and I thought parts of your story were so interesting, and I always thought nobody's gonna take that in an artistic way, and I thought I should do that. I should start putting my stories out there in a way that they become the art that I'm looking for. I usually it is I encounter a lot of folks that say storytelling, you don't sing, you don't write, you don't dance, and I'm but that's what I do, and artistically is what I can do and what I want to do, and it's as valuable. My stories are as valuable as any other form of art, and the
oldest form, really.
Yeah.
Storytelling, I find it to be so powerful. Passing on narratives, a lot of narratives I feel have gotten lost in our community. A lot of stories get lost as we lose folks. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
I've heard amazing things about your shows. Amazing things about your shows. Has your work in human services ever conflicted with your ability to do art, to produce work?
Yes, because working in human services is exhausting. And the expectation of a worker in the human services, non-profit, industrial complex, because every non-profit is a business, right? The idea of calling a non-profit is noble and everything, but every nonprofit is a freaking business. That's what it is. Right. So the idea of every nonprofit is to grow, right? So you are immersed. Me as a worker, I found myself immersed in companies that wanted to grow, and when a company wants to grow, you have to produce that growth. Right?
Absolutely.
So the expectation of everybody there is so much, and it's so much pressure. And as a trans woman, I think the expectation is even more. Because I feel that mostly everybody has this idea that we are not capable, right? And that because we are understood as not capable of doing the work, they always put bigger goals for us, and it never ends, and it never ends. So, I'm grateful for nonprofits. They gave me a paycheck for the last 7 years. They gave me a platform to do the work that I wanted to do. but they also sucked the life out of me. You know, I left so much energy in every one of those buildings, and I don't hate them. I just needed to walk away.
Yeah.
I needed to walk away.
Yeah.
And I know that for many trans women, the nonprofit complex is usually a good way to start doing something in terms of a career.
Yeah.
But I'm always for that trans woman that wants to do something else. Like, oh, do you want to be a cook?
Absolutely, yes.
Great, great. And then, oh, do you want to, be a professional cleaner?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you, I always encourage people to do other things too. I think like the nonprofit complex is, may not be the best way to grow as a professional for a trans person, and specifically a trans woman, and a trans woman of color, right? So again, I'm grateful for what they did to me, but I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Tell us about your work on Pose.
Well, it was amazing. It was a great opportunity.
Yes.
It was an amazing opportunity.
When I tell you I lit up, when I tell you how delighted I am to see you shine so amazingly on film. You really do.
Thank you.
But tell us more.
I love the character. So I did a couple of things in acting before. I did I played Sylvia Rivera in Oh Earth by Casey Llewellyn. I did My Old Man by Jess Barbagallo, who I adore, and I love the fact that he wrote a character for me that nobody knows if she was trans. She was a nurse. She was trans or she was cis. Nobody cares. She was a nurse. That was the essence of it. So I love that. So and then I did I did a lot of storytelling, but I don't have much experience in film or television.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah.
You could have fooled me.
So I received an email from this person that says, I manage Maybe Burke, who is a trans person who is an amazing actor.
Maybe Burke, yes.
I love Maybe,
yes.
yeah. They're great. So, these persons, this guy says, I manage Maybe, and, they told me that they gave me your address, your email address, and I am looking for a trans woman, Latina, in her 40s, to play a role in Pose. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much me.
Yeah.
And, they sent me, the script for the audition. And the audition was last year in January. I don't know if you remember, last year in January was a terrible snowstorm.
Yes, I do remember.
Terrible.
That's when I got my cat.
It was terrible. You got a cat that day?
Yeah, I got a cat. I got a cat that month. Yeah, long story, but we're on you.
So, I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. But part of me was like, it's a TV show, so let's see. And I went and I did my audition, and they didn't call me for like a month, so I thought like I didn't get it.
Right.
And a month after, they called me and I got the opportunity to do it. And for me, I love Pose. I love everything about Pose. But somehow, I think like the stories of an older trans person is not fully included yet. Like everybody is very young, skinny, and beautiful. And I wanted, I wanted my character to show like, that, some trans women, are not skinny, and they are, some of us are close to our 50s. And some of us do a lot of shit that, may not be fully legal, but that's what we do to survive, I wanted to show that, that's what I wanted to show. And I had an opportunity, and they gave me that opportunity, and I love the character. I love Miss Orlando. I think she's beautiful. And, as someone who had many experiences getting silicone, I had so many, people from my past that I could, grab into for inspiration. So she's a mix of every trans woman that put silicone in my body became Miss Orlando.
Interesting. Let's talk about this show.
Yes.
What can we expect for this show? I know we're talking about storytelling.
Yeah.
We're talking about trans narratives. What are you expecting, or what are you hoping that the audience will leave with?
I want the audience to leave with an idea that Stonewall doesn't mean the same for everybody. And I want people to see the Stonewall means a lot for me as a queer person, but it didn't mean anything when I was in Argentina. I didn't even know what Stonewall was.
Right.
And like whenever I knew what Stonewall was, it wasn't gonna change anything, to me. I was living in a country under a dictatorship where people would disappear, where like part of my family was persecuted, where we lived like in fear of our lives. So nobody really cared about that kind of liberation at the time. It was much deeper oppression, right? And at the same time, I grew up, watching, American movies and listening to American music and not even understanding what those songs meant. Like now, sometimes I listen to music from the 90s now and I'm like, oh shit, this is what it means, this song. I didn't even know that it meant, I thought it was just a good melody, right? So, I'm gonna have some of that, I'm gonna have Julia Rose who's gonna sing. I'm gonna have another special person who is gonna just talk about the experience of being trans and a woman of color. I just confirmed Susie Shock, who is an Argentinian singer and poet, an amazing adiba, and she is gonna sing bagualas. And bagualas is a specific form of song from the north of Argentina, which is like, a community that focus mostly on Argentinian Indians and like, she is amazing. So, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be able to have that. And I'm gonna have Ash Jergens, who is gonna dance, and I love him.
Yay.
So,
full lineup.
Yes. I'm super excited. And and I'm gonna be trying to braid all of this talent with some storytelling.
Yes.
So that's the idea.
Oh my God, I'm really excited. Social media handles, where can folks find you or your work?
Yes, I am Cecilia Gentili, I think 72 in Instagram and in Twitter, and Cecilia Gentili in Facebook. And I'm also Cecilia Gentili 72. That's my email
And
in
they can,
Gmail.
then they can Google you.
You can
Find
Google
you
me,
everywhere.
bitch.
That's my last question, just because you've been such an inspiration to me, and I don't think that I would be where I'm at, in my transition, in my life, if it wasn't for you and the work that you're doing, and the work that you do, and the work that you've done. What is your advice for other young trans women out there coming into themselves and who they are?
My advice is being trans sucks. The life of a trans woman sucks because it's so fucking hard. But once you find your community, it's so beautiful and it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I remember when we met, and I still smell like crack, when we met, and I was still just coming out of Rikers Island, you know, and I got an opportunity to have a job and to meet amazing people like you, and see you grow to the woman that you are now, the artist that you are now, the advocate that you are now. It's priceless. It's really such of joy to see people of a younger generation flourish. So that doesn't happen without community.
Yeah.
I know that you work a lot. You did your own work, personal, individual work, but I'm sure that community had a lot to do with, you know, with your growth.
Yeah.
And so everything that seems terrible, it is.
Yes.
It is fucking terrible. But, and, you shouldn't say but, I learned that. And when you find community, all that terribleness becomes beautiful and amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love you, Linda.
I love you so, Cecilia.
Come and see us.
Yes.